Hey, what's up you guys? My name is Max and today I want to explain how some things might be keeping you from investing. But before we get started, please make sure you smash that like button and subscribe. Now let's get started. Now the first point is saying that, it takes money to make money, and this is something that I've heard my parents say over and over again. The common misconception being, that you need millions to actually invest and make any kind of a difference. Although yes, having millions does help having much bigger gains in your portfolio. You can start with as little as $20 and seeing that $20 grow, getting more comfort and actually saving towards a goal and trying to invest and put more money in each time. Now, if it's something where you're not making enough money right now, and as soon as you pay for your rent, pay for food and any other expenses, you have nothing left, you should strongly consider into looking at other jobs or starting up side hustles. Or maybe it's the case where you're working 80 hours a week and you're doing everything you can. At that point, maybe it's time to first start investing into your education and seeing how you can maybe raise more capital in order to invest even a little bit. Now, this brings me to my next point, and that is poor financial education. All the way through high school and university, I've taken applied classes, essentials classes, calculus, pre-calculus, mathematical analysis, and it goes on and on and on. And none of those ever teach you about your financial well-being and financial education, which is so important and part of the reason why so many people struggle. And what I would say to that is spend some time investing into your financial education. You could follow lots of great channels on YouTube. You could also subscribe to this channel and check out the videos that I'll have coming up next, which will be teaching about your financial well-being and how to start investing, how to look at your finances, and how to grow in that aspect of life to the point where maybe finance is not going to affect you as much as it currently does. Okay, maybe you do have good income, you are financially stable, and you have financial education, but you just have the fear of losing money. You know that, okay, I have this $1,000, but if anything happened to that $1,000, I would just have a hard time with that. And what I would say to that is also the same principle. You take a little bit at a time, you invest, see how it feels, play it out, watch it go up and down. And over time, you will be getting comfort because you will see that, oh, you know what? In this past year, from that $100 that I put in, I actually gained $20. And that's a 20%, growth on what you put in. And you keep realizing that, hey, if I put more money in, I can get more returns and more returns. And it keeps kind of going on. And this kind of brings me to the next point, and that's the stress of being in the stock market. This was a huge issue for me. And matter of fact, all of these things I've struggled with at one point or another. Low income or spending unwisely. I can go on and on about how I spend way too much money on clothing back in high school, and later on realize that, hey, if I go thrift shopping, I can save hundreds and hundreds of dollars buying the exact same clothes I would have bought anyway, and they're conveniently all located in one store. You save money that way too. Isn't that great? So let's move on. Let's get back to the stress part. What I mean by the stress part is I watched some of my friends, being invested in the stock market and all. They would just pull their hair out every time the stocks would go down. And that's just a bad way in general to look at investing. What I would say to that is once you've picked the companies that you believe in, you looked at their financial information, and we'll talk about all of that later on. Once you've chosen your companies and you've invested them, you solely believe in that company. So if the price of that company goes down over the next month, should that mean that you have to sell or worry about the company? No, it should actually mean that you need to buy more shares of that company because it's a convenient time. You're seeing that the company is going through some hardship, and you're just gonna be putting more money into that company because the management team will take care of those issues and the stock will come back up, and you'll be making even more returns than if the price didn't go down. Or you can just turn on automatic investing and you just invest no matter what, $100 bi-weekly, every week, doesn't matter. You invest $100, $100, $100, And over time, statistically, if you read this information and you get deep into it, statistically, that's actually what has the best returns. Now, understanding your financials, there's some people that actually don't check their bank account. They don't know what their balance is. They don't know what's in their savings. They just know that they're getting more money than they're spending, and that's all that matters to them. And, there's also some people that have their parents invest for them, and that's fine as long as their parents are able to get higher returns than 7%, which is the average that you can get from investing in something like index fund. If they're getting less than 7%, that's somewhere where you gotta start taking charge of your own finances and start looking into investing, because you'd be much better off just putting it in an index fund and forgetting about it for years and years to come. Another problem that people struggle with is thinking that they're too young or too old. Now, let's talk about being too old. I got my parents into investing actually this year. They're 3 years from retirement, and I said, hey, why don't we take a little bit, not in their entire savings, but a little bit, a few thousand that actually ended up paying them for rent when I stayed at the place for a little bit during quarantine. Why don't we take that little bit, we put it into the stock market, and we see how it grows. Ever since we did that, that investment has grew 30%. And that's insane to get that kind of return for your money. And they're happy about it, and they're definitely gonna consider investing more in the future, just a little bit at a time. Gain comfort with it. Because let's look at it this way. If you have money just simply sitting in a bank account, and you're collecting, let's be honest, almost zero interest rate from the bank currently, what good is that doing to you? Where over a year, every single year, you could see a 7% increase. When your money is sitting in a bank, you're actually seeing a 2% decrease year over year due to inflation. Another issue is thinking that you're too young or not actually having a financial plan or a retirement plan at all, thinking that, hey, I'm 20 years old, I have years and years and so much time to invest. Why don't I just enjoy my life? And the problem with that is there's a huge difference between when you start investing when you're 18 years old and starting investing when you're 23 years old, which is actually what I did. And that was a huge mistake on my part. If I had started investing at 18 and I had the financial education, which of course I didn't, and that's why I'm talking to you guys about this, is I would have had way higher returns on my money. Even with the recent stock market crash in 2020, that money would have been far beyond what I currently have invested right now. Another issue that keeps reoccurring, and this is something that happened to me as well, is thinking that stock market is a scam, that Wall Street is just out to get you. And this is a conversation that I had to have with my parents, because they told me a story of how my dad's brother lost money in the stock market, in the Russian stock market. And that's, where things get kind of tricky. American and Canadian stock market does have a lot more regulations. There is no scamming going on. Everything is heavily regulated. And although I'm not saying that you can't lose money in the stock market, people do it year over year over year by not having the financial education and blindly investing. But what's important to note is that if you do diligence and you understand what you're investing in and you look at it long term, you look at it 20 years in advance, on average, even if you do an index fund or just a broad market investing, you'll see 7% increase. The other really big thing, and this might be a huge problem, is you've actually lost money at a certain point in your life. You've invested in the stock market. It could have been during the financial depression of 2008. Could have been as recently as, the 2020. You put money in at 2018, you were so excited about investing. Came 2020, there was a huge market crash. You lost, all of your gains and probably 20% of what you put in. So you decided to sell out. This is not for me. And that was probably a huge mistake, because if you look now, all of that has basically completely recovered. So my advice to you is to get over that and to start slowly again. Don't take all of your savings and invest it today. Take a little bit. Now, you've gone over all of these issues. Because you didn't have the financial education, you actually don't know where to even begin, where to start. And the answer that I have to you is start right here. Start with this channel, subscribe to this channel, start with other YouTubers that are teaching you how to invest. careful not telling you which stocks to buy. That's a huge mistake. If they're telling you which stocks to buy, gain 3 times your money, 5 times your money, that's a huge red flag where in recent terms, they could actually be getting paid by those companies to promote their stocks. And if you look at that, that's actually what some of the honest YouTubers out there reporting right now, where they're saying, hey, I was actually reached out by this company that's telling me to promote this stock. That is the wrong way to go about it. On this channel, I will be releasing my Excel sheet of how I evaluate this company, and we'll go through that Excel sheet where you should actually understand the math behind it. We'll go through every single point, and you'll learn how to take a company and value it from start to finish. So now, once you figured out where to start, the next question is probably gonna be, okay, well, how do brokerage accounts work? Which brokerage should I go with? And again, these are points that you can also look up on YouTube, and I'll also be posting about as well. And I would really appreciate, after we go through all of these points, that you guys comment down below and let me know which things are you most interested in, and I'll post that video next. Let's say you have a brokerage account, and now the question becomes, when do I buy? When do I sell? When do I hold? If you truly believe in the company, you've researched it, you've done some Excel magic, you've calculated out the rate that the stock should be going for and a price that you're comfortable buying the stock for, at that point, you invest and you hold, and you keep holding years over years over years. And the only time you'll actually start selling, or you'll sell a company, is if the track record of the company is getting worse over year. You see the cash flow slip, or you see some other issues with the management, or the company is no longer what it was when you started investing into it. That's why it's really important to make notes on, hey, I invested in this company because of this, this, and this. And if any of those points change over the years, that's the time to sell a company, not because some bad news came out and you're selling it because everyone is selling it. That's actually the greatest time to buy. If the company is still ticking all of your lists, that is the time to buy the stock and just keep increasing your shares within that company, because the bad news will pass, the good news will come out, and your money will keep increasing. All right, guys, and that completes my list. So I hope you learned something and are ready to invest. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.